Good evening, Britain. Today's news will be broadcasted at 9 p.m, as this is a special broadcast which goes into depth on the Brexit negotiations. This broadcast will cover different views on the UK leaving the European Union and the consequences for the UK and the European Union.
Good evening, Britain. Brexit is thought of as one of the most critical political decisions this century, having vast impacts on almost every sector of the country. People have conflicting opinions and the stakes are high. We have sent our reporter Bart out to report at an activist camp for the Brexit supporters. Bart, what is the mood like over there? Well, as you can see, the people are celebrating because of the outcome of the referendum, even though it was really close. One of the pro-Brexit activists had the following to say: "It may be close, but we are sure that in the future more and more people will understand the advantages of Brexit." Nonetheless, the champagne has already been poured, and I think this party will keep on going for some time. And what are some of the main reasons for the British to leave the European Union? The Brits have always been in favour of ruling their own country themselves completely. Joining the EU has meant that their control has been compromised, having to obey to the rules and laws of the EU. The refugee crisis has put extra stress on this matter and made the British people disagree even harder than they used to do. It seems to even have been the tipping point. The Brits want their control and their freedom back. An example of this is the imposed fishing regulations which Britain had to deal with. From this point it was agreed that the EU and not the nations controlled their own territorial waters. The EU set quotas for each individual country, the amount of fish one country can catch levels, subsidies, discards and a ton more measure. Because of these regulations, every country can fish anywhere in the European Union. Now, because Britain has one of the richest coasts in diversity and numbers, many European countries started fishing in the former UK waters. Many Brits find this unfair because they got less quota in the seas around their own country than other countries do. And this is just one of the many reasons to proceed with the Brexit. The vote on the Brexit was a very close call, with 52% voting for the Brexit and 48% against. Our reporter Roy has gone out to speak to some people against leaving the EU. What is their reaction like?
Well, Donald, obviously people are very disappointed here with the outcome of the referendum. People knew there was going to be a tight result, but they really expected that the majority would vote to remain in the EU. The first reaction of many British here was that they just do not know what the future will look like for them and the rest of the UK. Here are some reactions of the British who are against.
I'm quite shocked, to be honest. I thought we all would have stayed in, but I think it's bad, to be honest, man. I think people are just trying to reclaim how great Britain was. I think it's just stupid. They're still living in the past, man. It's 2016. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's a worrying time, but I believe in time it'll be fine. Yeah. How long it'll take, I don't know.
It's heartbreaking. When you live in London, you only, everyone that lives in London, it's like a little bubble. On the outside world, I think, especially in regional places, it's quite right-wing, and it's really, really scary for our generation.
What are the reasons for the opposing Brits to be against Brexit?
The first reason is the sluggish preparation of the government to leave the EU. The UK has to negotiate with the EU on a Brexit deal which includes human rights and the Irish-North Irish border. If they do not come to an agreement, this could be catastrophic for the UK. Secondly, with Britain stepping out of the EU, the trade of the British industries will be way more difficult. This could be hard on the economy. With the UK in the European Union, EU members, the UK and companies based in the UK can sell their goods freely in the EU without having to pay additional taxes. Without a new trade deal with the EU, they will have to follow World Trade Organization rules on tariffs. This will mean that the UK would pay tariffs on goods and services it exported into the EU. But since the UK would pay most favoured nation rates, this would prohibit either side imposing punitive duties and sparking a trade war.
Thank you, Roy. We will directly go to our reporter Rick van Zanden, who is in Brussels. What is the reaction of the European Union like? And what do they expect of the Brexit deal negotiations?
Thank you, Donald. I'm standing right in front of the main meeting room of the European Parliament, where most of the European business leaders have just finished a Brexit meeting. I've spoken to a few of them, and they all express a certain unrest. They don't know what's coming, and they are afraid of the economic results. The common fear seems to be that the cooperations in the UK will become less successful because of a loss of mobility. There will be long and tedious import and export procedures and a lot of taxes. The business leaders have mostly held back their investments in the UK companies for now. The EU officials are afraid that the union will start to fall apart. All over the union, nationalistic noises can be heard more and more on the streets, whereunder quotes like "Czechsit" or "Quitaly." The fragmentation of the union seems to be uprooted, and it will result in economic drawbacks, an increased amount of international tension and problems. The chances of conflicts will increase, and the opportunities of trade and cooperation will get slimmer and slimmer.
Thank you, Rick. As you can see, the opinions are wildly mixed, and a wave of disagreement has hit the UK and even reaches into the chambers of the European Parliament. No one knows how Brexit is going to pan out in the long term, but it is certain that the results will be significant. This was the extra broadcast about the Brexit. If you want to keep up to date on the Brexit news, you can look on our website or you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Have a nice evening.